Hey everybody, Danny Maude here. Thanks for joining us. This week I've got something really special for you. I want to help you add 15 or 20 yards onto your driver. How many times have you heard that before? This is a common request for me when someone comes for a lesson with me. And this week was no different. I had David come and see me, regular member here at Canada Golf. We've been a member for a long time. We've added a few extra yards to some of our holes, and some of the carries now are getting quite long. And he was struggling a little bit. So he wanted to basically add some extra yards to his game, but he said, look, Danny, I don't have time to go to the gym like I see all these tour players doing and adding speed, etc. Is there anything else I can do? Well, of course there is. So most golfers out there, they're just making some very simple, inefficient moves that are requiring them to make lots of effort and not get a lot of reward. Whereas if you can just get rid of those tiny little idiosyncrasies in their swing, you can basically add an extra few yards quite comfortably, effortlessly. And that is what we're going to cover in this week's training. Before we do that, if this was one of your first videos from me, please consider subscribing. If you press that little bell button next to the subscribe button, you get notified every time I release a video just like this one. So, David comes and sees me. He needs more club heads speed. So the question is, how do we do this? But more importantly, how do you add speed and maintain the accuracy? Well, let's start with the very first thing. I released a video about a year ago, which had well over 1 million views, which I'll put in this top right hand corner, called the Catapult. And really, if you want to generate more club head speed and add an extra few yards to your game, you need to get this club literally catapulting through like this. Now watch this. This club then acts as a lever. We need speed. You've got one end here, the one end starts to slow, the other end speeds up, and that is basically how you generate lots and lots of speed. Now, what was David doing and what I see a lot of players doing? They don't generate the catapult for speed. What they do is they get both ends working at a similar speed. So what they're doing is they're almost like this. Yeah. So there's no speed, there's no energy going into the club side, or the club head side, should I say, so they don't generate the effortless power that they could generate. And if you're the same, then I want to help you now generate this catapult effect so you generate power, but also maintaining the accuracy too. So we now understand, look, you have to get this club look from here, catapulting like this. That's where the speed's going to come through. So the question is, what factors create the catapult? Well, let's start with the very first one. Okay, I'm not going to go into setup in this week's training on the driver. I'm assuming you've got setup. If you're unsure exactly how to set up with driver, not a problem. I'll put a video look in this top right hand corner which will go through all the details of setup. I've also got a free driver series that covers a lot of these basics in, and I'll put that in the link in the description below too. But let's get into some real basics here. So when you get yourself set up, if you want to get this club catapulting, look at this. This end here needs to slow while the other end starts to speed up. And the way we do this is we cannot have the body moving side to side. So we've got to work out, how do we generate this speed? Well, you've got to get a turn going. Now you can't turn like this, which I see a lot of people doing, because that's a side to side motion. So if it's not a turn, what is it? It's a spiral instead. Watch this. The body instead, the way it turns, it spirals up, because what we want to try to do, look, is try to keep 3 balance points in play. I want you to imagine a dot on the floor as your first balance point. The second balance point is your navel, and the third is the top of your sternum. And what you try to do to keep this nice and simple and in line like this, what we're going to do is we're going to pivot this way. Now look at this. I've kept them pretty much in line there, and I've managed to do that by spiraling upwards. If I've just turned, I've got one over here and one over here. They're not in line. Now they're in line. Fantastic. So I'm winding them back. As I come back down now, watch this. They're now in line again. With a driver, they should be slightly offline because we want to hit up on the ball. With an iron, they want to be completely in line, okay? But we're now spiraling back down, and then we're spiraling back up. A great image for this is I've often used is like a cork coming out of a wine bottle. The backswing's like the cork coming out, and then the downswing's like the cork going in. So let's go through this in a bit more detail. So we're getting ourselves set. What you're going to do from the ground upwards, you're going to start to spiral from the big toe of your lead foot here, my left foot. I'm going to spiral up here. And then watch this. I'm going to push the cork back in the bottle, starting with the big toe of my lead foot, pushing back down. That spirals me back down, look, back into impact here. And then I'm going to spiral back up into position here, right? Now, clearly, you can't think of all this stuff when you're playing, so it's just a feeling, stuff that you can do indoors, okay? Get a sensation of this. You don't even have to use a golf club. Just get the feeling of the body, how the body works. It's very important that the body stays in this line, because what this does is that as you start to speed this up, can you see what's going to happen to the club now? It gets catapulted, because my body, as it spirals down and then backwards this way, as this goes this way, what happens to this? It gets thrown that way. That is where the speed happens. But if I'm not actually spiraling, instead I'm moving side to side, where's the speed gone? It's completely gone, hasn't it? So you don't generate the effortless power that we need. So step number one is learn to get the body functioning correctly in a spiral type fashion here, backwards and forwards, starting with the lead foot, spiraling up, starting the downswing with the lead foot, spiraling back down, and just getting that feeling of staying completely in line all the way through. Now let's work on now step number two. So you've now got the idea of the spiraling up and spiraling down. Now what you've got to do is you've got to take control over this club head, because we don't want just the catapult in terms of speed, but we also want the accuracy. Now watch this. You see a lot of people, they may get this wonderful spiral here, but then what happens is again, linked to the spiral, they shunt or they allow the club to drop here. That gets, we're out of position now, so where's the handle? The handle's over here. We can't really catapult, we'll end up just flicking with the wrists. Or vice versa, we get a spiral up here, and rather than, in a sense, people allowing the club to come in and catapult, what they do is they hit from the top. Now look, the handle and the club are basically coming in at the same time. Again, brute force, no speed. So what I want you to do are two things here. I'm going to give you two drills. The first one, you need to get the feel of this lever working. So I love this. Get the split hand drill. Get a couple of inches between your left and your right hand here. And what you do is, now you've got the sense of this spiraling up and spiraling down, what you do, you swing back here, and now watch. As I'm coming down, as I'm spiraling back down, I'm leading with my lead foot, coming back down. I'm going to practice now. Look at this. Letting the club release. Now look at this. I get the handle to my body and the head goes out here. It's the head to the ball and the handle to the body. Head to the ball, handle to the body. If the split hand feels weird and doesn't work for you, you can join the hands together. It's not a problem. It's just, I think it helps to feel both sides of the club. The left hand's at the bottom, the right hand's a bit of a split hand. You can really feel the lever working effectively. You don't have to do it, but it really helps. And all you're doing in this situation is this. When you spiral, as opposed to driving forward with a handle here, no catapult, or heaving from the top, what you're going to practice is getting the handle to the body and the head out to the ball, and learn the feeling. You don't have to do any speed at this stage, just learn the feeling of how the head and the handle work to help you get this catapult feeling. So we're swinging back here, and then we're swinging through. That's really nice, and it's so straight. A lot of the inaccuracies, the hooks and the slices, are caused the hookers get stuck in here and then have to flip violently, so it's a very last minute release. The slices, there's no lever at all, they heave from the top, they cut across the line of the golf ball. So this is a simple drill to really help you get the sense of this lever working. Some people will say, Danny, isn't that casting? Casting is definitely not. Casting is this. Flicking from here. What we're doing is we're simply returning that head to where it came from. It started here, we want to get it back to there. So the handle returns there and the head is out there. Now, once you've done those two things, we then go, right, okay, great. We've learned the spiral. We've got to learn how the club's supposed to be working. Now what we're going to do is how do we then join these all together to generate some serious speed? Well, you don't initially, you go to the range, you get a feel of these motions, and then you work on speed. Speed is this. You've now got a sensation of what's going on. What I want you to do now is this. Watch this. Look at my left knee here. I'm gonna now, watch this. This is the part of the spiral. As my body kind of works almost like a couple of pistons here, watch this. Body's like this, it goes up, down, and as my body goes this way, the club goes this way. That's the shape of the swing. So watch this. From here, as I'm turning now, as I stand up, the club gets extended and releases. Look at this. This is basically adding the extra power to the game. Notice what I'm doing here. I'm not standing up here. That would be what we call early extension and a loss of power. As I've spiraled and I've rotated, my knee still flexed, but watch, as I then stand a little bit here, I get the club and it starts to get thrown through the shot. 1, 2, I'm throwing it through. What I'm not doing is driving forward. I'm not stuck in here. I'm literally, look, throwing it through. Now what I do with this initially, I start with some small little half swings and get the sensation of this, and it's all driven in this lead leg, my left leg here. I'm coming through, I'm turning, and then I'm firing, and I'm literally catapulting that club through the impact area. Back here, turn, get that sensation, and catapulting that club through the impact area. So let's summarize. How do you generate power? You have to learn how to use this catapult effect in the driver. I've got a, like I said, video in the top right hand corner. I'll show you in detail how to, what the details of the catapult. But ultimately, we've done 3 things. In order to get this club catapulting, you can't move side to side, but you need to get some power, don't you? So you need to turn. You don't turn from side to side either. So how do you do it? Well, the body has to spiral upwards like a corkscrew out of a bottle. You start from the lead foot, you spiral up, you start on the lead down, you spiral down, and then back up again here. Sometimes you just got to take time. That one drill alone, getting those dots lined up, those 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, getting those dots lined up, practicing this over and over again will massively improve your balance. And suddenly, because the body's spiraling, you get this slinging effect of the golf club as opposed to the driving effect where you lose a lot of power and accuracy. The second thing was, we said, look, you've got to then learn, once you've got to learn how the body works, you've got to then learn how this club works. This club has to, at some stage, work back out in front of you. Otherwise, you don't get the catapult and you don't get the accuracy. For those of you who hook, you might get a great backswing here, but then what happens? The club is allowed to fall behind you, causing a flick of the wrist, so no catapult and a massive loss of accuracy. For the slicers, they get here, they don't catapult, they move over the top here, again, cutting across the golf ball. So we suggest, look, split hand grip, leave a gap between the two, swing back here, and allow the club, the feeling of the club where the handle goes to the body and the head goes out to the ball. That slinging effect will really feel like you're getting centrifugal force going this way through the impact area. And the third and final thing was then start to add in the speed with this once you feel more comfortable with those first 2, which is then using that lead leg here. As you've rotated, you've got to have some rotation for impact at this stage, and then what you're doing is as that extends and your body goes backwards, it throws even more power to the end of the club, adding that centrifugal force and therefore adding the power. My personal favorite is a split hand. Really helps to get, for me, I sometimes get in here, it helps me to get the club out there. So love these drills, really helps get some serious power into the shot. So really hope you enjoyed this training. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you think you could benefit from, or some of your friends could benefit from extra yards, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you share it with them. So if you enjoyed the training and you'd like to receive more, why not download my free driver course? I'll put it in the link in the description below. Just take it. Any questions and you want some more help with your driving, just leave them in the comments box below. But until next week, have a great golfing week.